Unreal Engine 5 strikes again, and this time on Borderlands 4. Well, yeah, I saw the Steam reviews and it's mixed across the board because of the terrible optimization. And the rumors are true. I mean, it's not rumors anymore, it's facts. The game actually performs like shit. And we're gonna test the game out on a 5080 and a 9800X 3D, a 64 GB of DDR5 memory running at 6000 MHz. Yeah, I'm just gonna spoil it for you. The game runs absolutely trash, and I'm only gonna test it out on badass settings. And this game should be performing way better than this. So this is the second best PC that you can buy with your money right now. It's just that we don't have the 5090 yet, but that's like a super luxury thing. 5080 should be the top and the top GPU anybody should be buying. Come on, we're just talking about $1,500 on a GPU. And this is the performance we're getting? Like, bro, this is crazy. So let's jump into the benchmark and see what's going on. Okay, starting things off on maxed out settings. Everything is cranked out to the max. No DLSS, no frame gen, nothing. So badass settings with a native DLAA. So this is DLSS full resolution. That's what it's called in this game, which is DLAA. And 30 FPS. I was not too mad about this because it's 4K native. So which is expected on a 16 GB card, even though we're not maxing out 16 GB. If it was Cyberpunk, you could see the GPU memory at 16 GB, like pretty much maxing out. But this one, you still have like 1 GB left in the tank, but still not able to get more than 30 FPS. That's disappointing to see, but I was not surprised. You know, it's a 5080, it's not that great. Okay, now we're gonna go turn on DLSS quality. On DLSS quality, we are getting close to 50 FPS. Pretty much like barely getting 50 FPS. So this is where I was like starting to get worried, because if you're getting this much, not even 50 FPS on DLSS quality, which is basically a 1440p upscale to 4K, I was like concerned because so on 1440p we are getting not even getting 50 FPS. So that's what I thought at first, and yeah, this is disappointing. Like I thought we were like getting at least 55 to 60 FPS on these settings. But no, Unreal Engine games, man, it just likes to tax everything. And we're not even using maxed out GPU memory. You can see it's not even reaching 13 GB because we are on lower resolution. But yeah, man, disappointing. All right, now let's go to DLSS performance. So this is basically upscaled 1080p resolution to 4K. And come on, man, barely getting 60 FPS on 1080p badass settings, bro. Like, this is by far the worst Unreal Engine 5 game that I've seen. It could be because of Denuvo as well. Man, you know, I'm not sure. This is day one release gameplay you're seeing right now. Maybe they'll update it in a patch or two, but right now, as of launch game, this is terrible, and the mixed reviews are really justifiable. Because this is terrible. On a 5080, we're getting this kind of performance. This is 1080p upscaled. And you cannot max it out and get 60 FPS consistently. That's, I don't know, man. That's a joke. So yeah, I understand why people are mad. So I turned off all DLAA or everything, just native FXAA. This is FXAA. Okay, so no AMD FSR, no DLSS, none of those GPU specific anti-aliasing. This is native. I mean, the other ones are also native, but this is, you know, this is just basic FXAA. That's supposed to be the faster anti-aliasing because it's cheaper. Doesn't require a lot of GPU power, but we don't see any difference from native DLAA. So what was the point in FXAA? I thought it was TAA, but it was not. It's FXAA. It's still not getting any kind of performance uplift from DLAA. So turning it off is completely useless. Alright, that's enough of the normal stuff. Now let's turn on frame gen and go 4x. Okay, on DLSS maxed out badass settings, we're just gonna go absolutely crazy with frame gen as well. And you can see 101 FPS, 80 to 90, and getting close to 100 FPS. But you know, I just had to turn on Steam's FPS overlay, which shows you the actual frames it's generating and the AI frames, which you can see here. FG is 92 and like something like that we see on MSI Afterburner overlay. But the actual FPS we're getting as base is 23, 24 FPS. So it feels absolutely terrible to move the mouse around. I had to turn on the FPS overlay from Steam. This is a great FPS overlay. So if you guys want to see the actual FPS the game is rendering on, it's actually 22 FPS, which was pretty much closer to what we got without FrameGen. Which is actually lower than that because we're getting 30 FPS. So this is what FrameGen does, if anybody didn't know. It just lowers your actual frames to multiply more frames so that you can generate better FPS kind of thing. So you're getting like better FPS, but at the cost of terrible input lag. Okay, now let's go to DLSS quality, but with FrameGen maxed out 4x FrameGen. And the same setting, so from 90 to barely 100 FPS to we're getting 157 FPS to 160 sometimes. But you can see the FPS, the base FPS is actually 37 up top. So that is what it's getting rendered on. So 4x AI frames rendered from that setting. So that's insane. And now I'm gonna go all the way down to DLSS Ultra Performance with FrameGen 4x to see if that's gonna help us. So this is basically upscale from 1080p. So Ultra Performance, no, it's actually upscale from 720p, I believe. So Ultra Performance on 4K badass settings and 4x FrameGen gets us about 200 FPS. So the gameplay looks pretty smooth. You can see we're still not able to get 60 FPS base. So this is equivalent to a 60 FPS gameplay, but with more smoother frames. So yeah, if you're playing on a controller, you might not feel any input delay, but if you're playing on keyboard or mouse like I did right here, it was a 60 FPS experience for me, So that's gonna be all the 4K settings. Now let's jump into 1440p on badass settings. All right, here we go. 1440p and native settings, DLAA, very high badass settings, no FrameGen. That's like I thought. Not even 50 FPS. It was 4K DLSS quality kind of experience right here. So yeah, really underwhelming. On 1440p on a 16 GB card, it's like the 5080 with maxed out settings. That's insane, bro. Where are we going with these unoptimized games? Unreal Engine 5 is really terrible for any open world game or whatever the case is. Because all these devs actually need to learn how to optimize games in Unreal Engine. I don't know, man. This is not it. 44 FPS, not even getting 60 FPS on 1440p. Are you kidding me? Okay, now let's turn off DLAA and just go FXAA. Okay, which is pretty much the same like we saw in 4K. Not a big difference. I mean, not a difference at all, even on FXAA. So what was the point in adding these settings in the game? Gearbox? What was the point? Like FXAA should be giving us more FPS than this. At least 10 FPS more. That's what it should do. We're pretty much getting the same kind of results. I'm not even sure if FXAA is applied right now. If it's just bugged. I have no idea because it looks pretty clear as DLAA as well on the edges. So I think it doesn't get applied even if you apply it. So yeah. Same experience on FXAA. Okay, now let's turn on some upscaling and go DLSS quality. So 1080p upscaled to 1440p. Finally getting more than 60 FPS consistently. That's a good sign to see, but still we are playing around in that low 60 FPS range and even dropping down into the 50s in some areas. So yeah, still not a smooth 60 FPS gameplay if you ask me, because it still will go down below 60 in some areas. So that's absolutely terrible on a 5080. And look at the 0.1% loss in some areas. It's horrendous, And I died because I was not paying attention to what the hell was going on the screen. I was fixated on the overlay and realized I got shot by a sniper guy. And there it is, I died. Thanks to the absolute perfect optimization of this game. I got distracted. Alright, now let's go down to DLSS performance. So which is basically 720p upscale to 1440p. I guess we are finally getting more than 60 FPS consistently. we should, we should be getting this even on 1080p or 1440p actually for an FPS game like this, But 720p is what it's gonna get us to consistent 60 FPS. What a shit show. And it's still using more than 11 GB of VRAM. That's the crazy part. So imagine playing this game on an 8 GB card. Oh, and I'll be testing this game out on a 2080 pretty soon, so keep subscribed for that. I can't wait to see how it's gonna be. Yeah, this is absolutely terrible again. Alright, now let's turn on FT4X on DLSS performance and see how things go. Hoping to get more than 60 FPS base. And I'm not even sure if this game has ray tracing inbuilt, because I don't see any options to turn on ray tracing. And usually games with this kind of performance indicates that ray tracing is inbuilt. A good example was Doom: The Dark Ages, but even in that game, we're getting way better performance than what we can see in this game. Yeah, I'm not sure, man. This is not that great. You can see FPS is 62, barely 60 FPS base, which is multiplied 4x to 230 FPS, which looks pretty great on screen, on YouTube for a playback. But when you're actually playing the game, it's a 60 FPS experience. So that's what you can expect. It even drops down to 50s in fight scenes like this, where there's a lot of particle effects and stuff going on. So I don't know, man. Still so bad. This is performance DLSS on 1440p. Okay, last but not least, on 1440p, let's check out DLSS Ultra Performance with the same frame gen 4X, which gives us almost close to 300 FPS. And you can see it's still getting base frames of 71, barely. So 70 FPS gameplay, and AI generated up to 280, almost close to 300 FPS. I don't know, man. Pretty mediocre kind of performance, even on ultra performance DLSS. Still using more than 11 GB of VRAM. I mean, I can't blame it because FrameGen uses a lot of VRAM because it's a GPU heavy task. So I understand that. But man, I expected at least 500 FPS from a base of 120 FPS at least, Yeah, that's not the case, unfortunately. And finally, we are on 1080p. Let's go native, badass settings with no upscaling, no frame gen, raw, DLAA performance. And as we expected, getting barely 70 FPS. On 1080p, on a 5080 with a 9800X 3D, this is what we're getting on this game. How bad can it get? And it's still using more than 11 GB. So do not even dream of maxing this game out on an 8 GB or even a 12 GB card, because it's going to be a stutter fest. I guarantee you that. Since this is a 16 GB card, I'm not facing any stutters. And I've seen a lot of people complaining this game crashes a lot, and I haven't had any crashes yet. So I'm good on that. But the performance is absolutely terrible. See, it's even dropping down into the mid 60s. Alright, now moving on to DLSS quality. Let's see what we got. 87 FPS. Getting close to 100 FPS. So this is 720p upscaled to 1080p. And we're barely scratching the surface of 80s. I mean, it's not bad, it's playable. But you will expect better on 1080p with a card like this. This is the latest generation of GPUs. And this is what you get. Absolutely terrible. Now let's go down to DLSS performance with the same settings. And now this is 540p upscale to 1080p. More than 100 FPS. Finally, we are finally seeing 100 FPS on the screen with the 5080, and that too on 540p settings. Crazy. I gotta say one thing though. Even though the optimization is so terrible, the gameplay is pretty fun. I like the way you feel. It feels like Call of Duty when you kill some enemies. That's the exact same kind of feeling that you get when you kill these creatures in this game. So gameplay is super fun, way better than Borderlands 3 even. So just for that reason, I'm gonna keep playing the game. You know, yeah. Okay, now let's go to DLSS Ultra Performance, because why not? And which, so that will give us 130 FPS or more. And we are using 55% of the 9800X 3D right here. But it's still even like almost maxing out the 5080. If you look at the usage, it's still 97, 98%. So we're not seeing any bottleneck. We're both utilizing both the CPU and GPU. So, you know, it's not bad. But yeah, that's all I can say about that one. Now let's try turning on 4x frame gen on DLSS Ultra Performance. So this is the absolute lowest upscaling you can go with frame gen, but on badass settings. I'm pretty sure we can get more than this if we just crank down the settings to low. But we're not gonna do that in this video. This is just gonna be badass settings performance benchmark only, because you know it's a 5080. I should be able to max it out and get a pretty decent experience, which we are not seeing in this game so far. So there it is, 300 something FPS, and it is upscaled from 100 something FPS. I mean, not even 100, it's below 100, 80 FPS, and using upscaling to get to 340. This, I mean, what can I say? Not impressive at all. And the game looks really, really blurry on these settings, even though there's no noticeable input lag. Because, you know, we are getting more than 60 FPS base, so that's why there's no input lag. But the game looks really blurry on a 4K screen. I wouldn't play the game like this at all. That's gonna be it for this benchmark. What do you guys think, man? If you guys are playing this game on like a mid-tier GPU, a mid-tier PC, let me know how your experience is. Are you like facing any crashes or anything? Just let me know in the comments. I will be doing more benchmarks on different GPUs, like the 5060, 2080, and a bunch more. So stay tuned for that. I hope you guys are having a great time wherever you are. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.